past, I think we were living in the Industrial Revolution. And the Industrial Revolution was really driven by power, and whether it was from steam or nuclear or wherever. And what we're starting to see now is it's being driven by AI. And AI is creating what I would call the intelligence revolution, where the Industrial Revolution took about 150 years, and the change was somewhat predictable. In the intelligence revolution, it's happening in 10 years, and the change is unprecedented. Every single day, there's a new breakthrough, there's a new change, there's new laws, and it's unbelievably difficult to keep up with that from a CEO's perspective, and we're all doing our best. So that it's shifted kind of from evolution that you'd see in the Industrial Revolution to really transformation. And the reason we're talking about transformation so much is companies need to understand what their industry, what their careers are going to look like in the next few years. If you're not aware of what it's going to look like, then you can't be prepared for the transformation, and I think you'll end up not surviving the transformation in terms of an economic sense. Those companies that don't have a transformational growth strategy won't exist. I like to talk about the importance of investing in the future. And that means a specific amount of time and capital every day, every week are invested in thinking what the 5 and the 10-year future is going to be, whether it's the future of a career or the future of a company or the future of a country, that you really have to take time to invest in understanding what it might look like, not necessarily predicting it, but understanding what might happen and then be prepared for what's going to happen. Most companies don't do any investment in the future. They just plot day by day. But the truly great ones are doing what I would classify as investing in the future, taking specific time out, looking at product lines and services that they're not working on today, that they feel are going to shape the future. It's a very difficult thing to do, but I think it's absolutely essential. I probably look at it a little differently in the sense that what we've seen, our Chinese clients do in the last 30, 40 years is first develop a really strong prowess in manufacturing, making products better, more high quality. The Chinese have achieved that. Then coming along with supply chain logistics, world-class best practices at that. I think the focus has been on that, and that you see the innovation coming from everywhere. So I think the next thing that I've talked about earlier today was the importance of telling your story, right? Globalization's not going to come if you don't have a powerful story. Why are we here? Why does it matter to the customers? Why should the world care we exist? And it's not so much of making a greater Chinese company, it's making a greater global company, regardless of where it's based. And that's done by telling the story, building a global brand. It's more than just everybody recognizes the brand. They're influenced by the brand. They love the brand, the quality, the customer service, what it stands for, what it brings to life. I think the most important immediate need is to figure out how the CEO deals with AI, and then how AI is integrated into a company. Because it's very easy to get distracted by AI, and there's going to be so many companies that are pushed out of business because of AI. But the CEO that's using AI or has integrated AI into everything they do is going to beat all of the other companies. They're going to be faster, smarter. They're going to make 1,000 decisions faster and quicker and better than the company that hasn't fully embraced it. AI is obviously changing everything. The first one, I think anytime you're looking at transformation, and everybody on the planet is looking at transformation, every single industry is getting smashed by the intelligence revolution. So I think the absolute first thing is you have to understand what the transformation is that's coming. So understanding that in terms of what the technology might look like, what are the business models going to look like, what's the government role going to look like on a certain. So the more time we understand the transformation, then you have a better. So the first step is to understand the transformation from multiple different perspectives. And then the second step is, where do we want to be to win in the transformation? So that means how am I going to redefine, we have it at Frost. At Frost Sullivan, redefine the company to survive and thrive after the intelligence revolution. So we have to be ready to restructure our company to have more of a human connection with our clients. That's why we're working on coaching rather than consulting. It's more nurturing, more supporting, and making our clients stronger. And then the last thing that's incredibly difficult is what I'd call best practices implementation. And that means you have to implement it world-class speed, world-class quality. And I think what I see here in China is very, very good implementation skills, right? Once something's decided we're going to do this, whether it's a 5-year plan or a 1-year plan, it tends to happen. It's something I admire greatly. It's the human implementation of the transformational growth. So those are the 3 things. You got to understand it. You got to know how to restructure your company to win and survive this transformation. And then the last one is implementing at best practices levels.